Join us for a review of the all-new VW Golf 8 GTE. Let's go! Here in the front, the new Golf 8 generation has more an evolutionary change. The headlamp design has changed a little bit. However, here in the sporty models, GTI, GTD, GTE, there's this, color stripe going all over the vehicle. And in GTE, it is blue, which is to me the fanciest design. Then GTE logo also here in blue, and it really leads over very well. Also the daytime running light you can see here also placed in the middle part, really cool. 4-28, 14'4" or 168 inches is the length of the new Golf generation. Due to the overhang, the GTE just slightly longer. But doesn't really matter. And wheel sizes here either standard 17-inch or here the optional 18-inch. And quite nice styling. It has a somewhat aerodynamic closed look, but not a real aero wheel. You do not get 19-inch wheels here for the GTE, whereas you could get it, for example, for the GTI. Then you have a sportier side bumper right here. And other than that, a standard Golf design, of course, always characterized by this very massive C-pillar right here. Classic Golf hatch style here in the rear and with the GTE lettering. And you get a new tail lamp design right here in a modern style, but hasn't that much changed here from the rear perspective as for the design. But technology-wise, more to come very soon. Engine concept, once again, no gas struts holding the hood open, as we know from the previous generation, but it's also said that it would be better for pedestrian safety. Yeah, is it for pedestrian safety now or for coast cuttings only? What do you think? Then here, either the e-hybrid or the GTE, and both come with 1.4-liter turbo petrol engine, 204 horsepower in the e-hybrid and 245 horsepower here today in the GTE, this sportier spec, and 6.7 seconds is the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. So that's half a second slower than the Golf GTI, but still quite reasonable as for the power, 4 cylinders. You also get an electronic differential lock in the front. This is supposed to reduce this understeering effect. The top speed just EV, just electric driving, is 130 kilometers or 80 miles an hour, and the top overall speed is 225 kilometers per hour, then, of course, with the combustion engine combined. And, most important update here, if you compare it to the previous generation, here now 13 kilowatt hours is the battery capacity, so more than before. That also means more pure EV range. So, around about 45 kilometers, a little bit less than 30 miles, pure electric. And recharging, it does not open when you press here, just here exactly on that line where that pin is. You just have to then, press exactly here that it opens. 3.6 kilowatt recharging, AC only, and that means when you have full power from a wallbox or public charging station from 0 to 100, about, a little bit less than 4 hours. But here with the plug-in hybrids, usually you plug it in at home, maybe just household plug, and then you just leave it overnight and it's also full. With the new Golf generation, you either have these new optional ergo active seats or then the sport seats for the sport models or for the GTI, GTD, GTE and also for the R line. And here again, it looks sporty, but yet again, it's very comfortable. So the seating comfort, the ergonomics have been improved for all the different seats in this new Golf generation. Indeed, they hold a little bit tighter, but yet again, they are very suitable also for tall people. 1.86 m or 6'1" is mine, and still have some headroom left. There will also be a panoramic roof available, which is an option. Interior overview, soft touch dashboard. Here is horizontal stress. Then again, this honeycomb design, but this is, just a layer on top of that. And then you can see this screen here. It would usually, if the base Golf, come with 8.25 inch. This year standard for the sporty model, GTI, GTD, GTE, the new 10-inch screen, also here with a gesture control. The GTE is really one of my favorite compact vehicles, but 2 flaws next to the capacitive new steering wheel is here this infotainment system. First of all, then here with these temperature sliders and the volume sliders, it's not really an intuitive solution. And then also the whole infotainment software, I think it already looks outdated. And when you search for something, it's really hard to control. I mean, it's like you try stuff and sometimes nothing happens. Sometimes it's laggy. Sometimes like, what am I doing? Man, it's like, what? You have this experience all the time. Digital instruments, you have this gear selector view here that pops up, and other than that you have, for example, different view stages. This is the classic GTE gauge, for example, which looks quite fancy, I think, this blue design once again. But you can also have, for example, this view here then with the driving stats. And as for the rear, the wheelbase hasn't changed that much in this new generation for the hatch here, so you can't expect too much difference. Hard pack at the inside of the door in the rear, then soft touch fabrics right here, and once again the nice blue structure we also have for the rear. In the middle part, by the way, now 2 USB-C chargers next to an additional climate unit for the rear passengers. And let's get inside. And it is a standard Golf rear position, so it directly fits here for 4 tall adults, not more, not less. So you'll get along, I would say, but overall I think decently comfortable and cozy, because these seats here also, they go a little bit inside again with the microfiber accentuations, and so they also deliver you a decent comfort. Now to the trunk, 272 liters up to 1,160 liters, and that's a little bit less, about 100 liters less than the usual Golf. Flip the logo right here, and you lose it because of the battery in the lower part here. You see a little bit limited in height, but still a backpack fits in here very well, so there's no problem. So I think we can live with that compromise. However, there's no specific place for your charging cable. It just flies around the trunk because there's no space underneath. That's where the battery is also placed. And this could be a little bit, this is not typical Golf quality. In the usual Golf, that's definitely better build quality. In here with the lip, maybe that can be improved. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the all-new Volkswagen Golf 8 GTE, and we're on the German motorway, so we can also present you something of the speed. Starting in the electric-only mode, about 80 kilometers an hour, and this is really decently silent here. Blind spot monitor here at the side. When I hit the turning indicator, it also flashes. That's very well done. Let's go to the sport mode right here, and then combine both accelerations. I'll also put to the hybrid mode. We definitely have the combustion engine on, unlimited speed. Let's go. So that's 180 kilometers an hour. I think decent acceleration. What you realize in comparison to the GTI with a little more displacement and more ICE power, in the lower speed areas, and also soon show you some acceleration from 0. So there the GTE is not too much different, but the faster you get, the more difference there is between GTI and GTE. Here again, 160 kilometers an hour, very good as a noise insulation, one of the most silent compact vehicles, and the hardware of this vehicle is really superb. So, you know, how stable it is here at higher speeds, it's really cool. Good feeling from the steering wheel, progressive input, you don't have to steer too much. Even here, like lane changing at higher speeds feels so good. Let's do it even a little bit more extreme like this. Very well in control, so a great driving feeling. You do feel indeed that the suspension is not put lower as in the GTI, and the stiffness is not as stiff as in the GTI we recently experienced. So indeed the GTE is positioned between the normal Golf and the GTI as for the sportiness, not only for the acceleration figure but also for the stiffness. And I think that's a good compromise. You know, when you go for a GTE, you want it a little bit sportier, but maybe not as sporty as in GTI. And I think, again, dampening rate and so on, good compromise. The DCC here, the optional adaptive suspension, is really, you know, a very good compromise. So it delivers you in the sport mode here, a little bit, you know, stiffer punch, but then again, it's not uncomfortable at all. In the comfort mode, you do have some more comfort. Then again, it's not as stiff, but once again, really direct feeling here. So overall, I think very, very well done what they've done here driving setup wise, really cool. And this additional weight, do you feel that when driving the GTE? Hardly, I would say. And it's also not that it would put the car so much lower as for that. So I think what really rather plays an effect is how they set the individual dampening rates, you know. That's a T-Roc convertible. Don't see too much from these yet, but they said they actually sell quite well. Pretty interesting. So what about the assistance systems? Here, again, setting it on the steering wheel. It's always a little bit complicated with these capacitive buttons and distracting. I always have to look at it. Blind spot monitor once again. And here, let's see how the lane is being kept from this travel assist. Now we're getting closer to the right lane. See here a little bit more to the left. Let's see about traffic sign recognition. Set to 100. Now there it is. This is here, take over steering assist, evil Thomas. So now again, AD detected. So the traffic sign recognition works pretty well too. Of course, the system is meant that you keep your hands on the steering wheel all the time. That was just for demonstration purposes. And also demonstration purposes that the car realizes that, and one hand would actually be enough that the system realizes I'm on the steering wheel again, because here in the new generation we do have a capacitive steering wheel. That means I don't need a steering intervention. So just touching the steering wheel is enough for the car to actually realize that. Energy flow meter, there we can see, for example, when I'm also recuperating, when you go off the throttle, it depends on if you have a GPS route set. There's this predictive driving function, for example. When you have a GPS route set, the car automatically realizes when to use the electric drive only, when to use the combustion engine, and so on. Now from 0 while cornering, that's this car pass right there. And we go to the sports mode, hybrid mode, and see about the acceleration right there. Let's go. That's 90. Yeah, well done. We had some tire screaming there. Yeah, why not? But this electronic differential lock, also you see the steering wheel didn't get too nervous. So it was actually quite well in control. So we didn't have like a massive understeering effect. This was again done with this electronic differential lock. Very well done. And you could also see acceleration wise, we were very quickly at 70. And this was not a big difference to a GTI. And again, the faster you get, the bigger there will be the difference to the GTI. So like 0 to 60. Is maybe the GTE even quicker, 0 to 60? That's a good question, but there won't be like a big difference, like to 60 kilometers an hour. And then, for example, 60 to 120 kilometers an hour, there the GTI will already be faster. And here it is, a consumption example. So here on this short trip, we did motorway, countryside, and city driving, and you can see very efficient, about 2 liters on 100 kilometers and 10 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. So this is the energy consumption. This is then, this is a share. Like on the motorway, we had the combustion engine and some recuperation when we lift the throttle. And in the city, for example, we normally pure electric driving. And this will vary depending on what you use. Before, when we had EV driving only, we were at about 17 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers for the pure EV driving. And when you have pure combustion engine driving, you'll end up about like 7 liters on 100 kilometers, something like that, like 30 plus mpg, 40 plus mpg UK or something. So it really depends on how much do you recharge, how much not, and so on. But overall, this is an example of how useful and efficient this car can be. And now to our conclusion for today with the all-new VW Golf 8 GTE. So, pure white on the right, moonstone color here on the left, or to your right and to your left, of course. So this is also a very interesting color. It's not a pure matte color here, but definitely also looks very, very fancy, also in this blue GTE trim. The exterior, I think, quite likable, especially with the GTE, because you have these blue accentuations. I think it fits very well to the vehicle. Interior styling is overall very good, especially the seats, and once again the blue accentuations do the car very well there. Great sport seats, they're sporty in the look, pretty fancy visual wise, but also a very good comfort, especially for tall people. And the overall offering of space here for this standard compact hatch segment is also once again quite good. The weaknesses of this vehicle, first of all, the capacitive buttons at the steering wheel. Secondly, the software then in the infotainment system, just not intuitive at all, very complicated and also not fast enough. Other than that, this is a very good car, a great car, so to speak, because it is still one of the best in the segment. The hybrid drivetrain is a very good one, updated now here in this new generation with the higher electric range. So we said about 45 kilometers pure EV driving, so a little bit less than 30 miles. And also if you have this combined consumption, just talked about it, you can drive this vehicle very, very efficiently, especially if you have a GPS route set and then optimize it that, for example, you use the combustion engine on the motorway and the electric driving then in the city. So this can save a lot of fuel, a lot of energy, and after all, a lot of money. Of course, also the taxation benefits, depending on the country you buy it in, or some, buying benefits. So this one will, of course, be cheaper, for example, Germany as an example, than a GTI. Not for the absolute list price, like when a GTI is like 37,000 euros, this one here about 41,000 euros. But it's basically fully equipped. You have so much standard equipment. But then again, after benefits and subventions and so on, this one, for example, in Germany, would be then cheaper again than a GTI. Very interesting. And speaking about comparison GTI, GTE, so sportiness-wise, it's like the base Golf, then this GTE, then the GTI. So the GTE, sportiness-wise, between the GTI and the base Golf, not as stiff as the GTI, not as low as the GTI. The extra weight it has here due to the battery components is quite okay. It doesn't play a big negative effect, I think. It still is a very sporty drive. It has a lot of fun, actually fun experience. Good steering feeling, that too. So I had, really enjoyed this ride with the GTE, and the electric driving moments are cool. Silent drive in the city especially, and you still have decent power. So overall, a very, very good party as for the driving experience. So, and now, what's your take on this GTE here? You can also check out other Golf versions here. We have it all on our channel, so tune into these. We will also link some relevant videos here in the video description. Thank you so much for tuning in today. See you next time.